Now, welcome, Jem. Jem is the founder of Business Management Consulting, offering comprehensive virtual bookkeeping services to clients across Canada. With over a decade of experience, she's developed expertise across a range of industries. As an elite advanced QuickBooks Online Pro advisor, Jem helps entrepreneurs master accounting software. Before focusing on accounting and business management, Jem was a professional songwriter in Toronto. She served as director of member services at the Canadian Recording Artists Association and founded the Snow Lake Initiative, a social enterprise that provided micro grants and mentorship to creative entrepreneurs across Canada. In 2021, Breeze Business Management began beta testing the Accounting Club software, which became fully operational across Canada in 2024. This cloud-based accounting software is intuitive and user-friendly, offering a flexible pay-as-you-go pricing model, which is wonderful for all of the small businesses, making it ideal, if I stayed on script, making it ideal for small businesses and startups, while its robust features cater for large organizations and CEO. Jem relocated from Huntsville, Ontario to Regina, Saskatchewan in 2022. So you got through COVID and you're like, I'm out of here. And now resides in Moosomin, where she works remotely, supporting her team. Please join me in welcoming Jem.
Thank you.
She's gonna get on this.
Yeah.
Because, like I said earlier, like even hearing just your bio, I think the room would join me in agreeing that I'm very excited to hear your journey. How did you get to this place that you now have, software company, have launched this, but can you go back? Like, don't hesitate don't spare details. We want to hear. And we'll get into questions. Also, to the crowd, please think of questions afterwards. So this is going to end up being a Q&A. So feel free, if you hear something, note it. You go back and tell us your story.
In 1992, I was born.
Yes.
That's as far back. No. Yeah, my journey into accounting was not typical. I was not someone who had a big interest in accounting, bookkeeping, numbers. I'm pretty sure I was not good at math growing up. Like it was not how I ended up here. I find very interesting. I started out as a songwriter and singer performing artist in Toronto, and I did that for a decade. And I was an independent artist, which means basically I was not on a label. I was just, trying to make things happen on my own dime. And it was through that experience. I was in my very early 20s, so I would have been 22. I had decided to leave university, where I was studying neuropsychology, to basically give it a shot. I was putting myself through university, and I kind of looked at the numbers at that time, and I went, wow, I'm going to be like 50 grand in debt after this university, degree. And I don't even think I want to use this. Like, I just want to write songs and sing. So I made the difficult decision to, postpone my education at that time. They're still waiting to hear from me. And I decided, let's give it a shot. So I moved to Toronto, and I decided, okay, well, if I'm going to give it a shot, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to, this is what I'm going to do full time, I guess. So I, moved around. One of the hilarious parts of my time in Toronto was, I think I had 18 apartments in a span of 4 years, because you just move to where's cheapest, really. And as an artist, I finally got my break as an independent artist. And I ended up getting a whack of money through Factor's juried sound recording program, which was a big deal for an independent artist, because not only do you not have the support of record labels or any publishers or anyone that's big wig in Toronto, but you're really up against a wall as an independent artist. You have to prove that you're going to be able to bring this album to market, and that you're going to be able to promote it, and that you're on your way to success. So I just kind of got lucky. I ended up getting a Much Fact grant back in the days of MTV Music. And I like developed this mock fake app called Cuddler, which was in the days of Tinder, where I was like, maybe Cuddler is just like what I really need in my life. Like, I just want to cuddle, nothing intimate, please. And we ended up like getting a lot of press because, as it turned out, there was an app called Cuddler in like New Zealand or someplace. So on the like, windtails of that, I ended up receiving this huge grant. And I went, okay, this is it. I'm 24, like, I'm never gonna get better looking than now. I was, really focused on my career, and that project just imploded into a million pieces of really sad things. And all of it was because of poor management, poor lack of understanding of financials, poor budgeting, poor decisions. And, I learned a lot through that time where I was just really like gutted that I couldn't make this work. I ended up having to return a lot of the money that was gifted to me, and like through this grant, and then still release the album that I didn't even want to release. And it was at that time that I was, again, like pretty young in Toronto and very poor by my own decision making, of course. And I remember just thinking, okay, so I don't know what I want to do next, but I know I won't succeed if I don't understand the accounting and the business management side of this, because there's just like, I could have the best idea in the world. I could be so lucky, but like at the end of the day, if I don't have these fundamentals in place, like I'll fail at whatever it is that I'm doing. So I immediately enrolled in a computerized accounting program in Toronto. And I, learned these skills thinking that I would just kind of like bounce back. I was working some other jobs through, you have like 5 jobs in Toronto, obviously. So I was, teaching music lessons, grant writing for artists, trying to do all of these things. And it was at that time that I finished my accounting diploma, and I immediately got hired at a management firm in Toronto for millionaire musicians. So I was like, "Ooh, the arts and accounting, like this is perfect." So that's really where I learned how much administrative work is behind one entrepreneur. And also where I learned that, here I was thinking, oh, well, like maybe I can make it as an artist in Canada. And here at this firm, we had like, the 1%, the 1%, the 1%. Like they were exceptionally good artists. And I was like, oh, this is what's involved in your accounting team. Like there's 12 of us, like going through every single reconciliation and chasing down your Good Life membership to get that receipt. Like we laugh because one of the artists that I was helping manage was like a very well-known rapper. And in the time that I was working at the firm, I laughed that the only thing that I accomplished was getting him out of his Good Life membership, which is very hard to do. So it was during that time at this firm that I learned a couple really fundamental things. One was that, okay, it takes a lot of just accounting and management to support one entrepreneur's journey. And also I discovered that office life was not for me. I have a problem with authority, apparently. So yeah. It was just not for me. So as one does, they moved to the Dutch Caribbean. And at that time, I took 4 months off, and I was amazed that like I thought in 2 weeks of my time off work and off entrepreneurship that I would be able to like put my shoulders down and relax. And I was amazed to find that it took 3 out of my 4 months that I was there to actually like, okay, what am I going to do? This is where I kind of dreamt up this Snow Lake initiative, which was my national social enterprise pre-COVID. I wanted to support artists who needed micro grants, you know, $100 here and there. Like mentorship was really important to me, which we'll get into, I'm sure, later. Like I really wanted to support my fellow creative artists. Unfortunately, COVID happened and all of our like funding opportunities just kind of dried up. And I had now the knowledge of looking at financial statements and going, things is not looking like it's going to be sustainable. So I made the difficult decision to close that and open up Breeze Business Management. I decided to just take everything that I had learned through supporting one creative artist and just go, well, surely everything that I've learned here can be transferable to a plumber and an electrician and the construction industry and a pottery business and a flower farm. And through that process, I just started working with, you know, I've never turned an industry away. I'm very like, I love working in different industries because you get to learn something like so new and so relatable for another business. You get to like share that knowledge with the clients. And then now I'm in the process of, we've been co-developing a accounting software, which I'm sure we can get into later. And I've, you know, passed off my business to my amazing manager, Linda. She runs it. And now I actually, you know, after 4 or 5 years of like really driving this ship, I get to step off and focus on, you know, the next stage of my business. So all to say, you know, accounting was not what I wanted to do when I was 14. Like I wanted to be Lady Gaga, but unfortunately, no, but fortunately, what really drives me is personal freedom. I want to wake up and get to decide what I do with my day. And if that is waking up and deciding today I'm going to work on my website for an hour and then work on fulfilling, you know, some client orders or whatever. Or if someday I wake up and I decide today I learn pottery, like I want that. And the way that I've been able to achieve that in my life is through accounting and through bookkeeping. So it's a love-hate relationship that I have with, you know, accounting and bookkeeping, but it's ultimately how I have achieved the goals that I set out.
Can we all see why she's on the couch? Cocktails tonight.
Weird.
You know, and I think what I can't wait to dive into some of this with you, but I think that even when we look at the women in the room tonight and, you know, the fact that you have experience now of taking a bit of a side hustle to an operational business to, you know, to really feeling you are now fully sustainable. When you know, are in a room and, you know, you might have women who are right at that startup stage. You know, what are some suggestions, like relational words of encouragement that you might have for someone that is like just starting or not feeling like they've progressed?
Yeah. I like had, again, we can get into mentorship a little bit later, but I've had a business mentor for over 12 years at this point. That relationship has been hands down fundamental to like the development that I've seen. And one of the things that he taught me at a very young age was you throw it against the wall and you see what sticks. And I've, you know, in my head, I'm like, my life is now spaghetti walled. I throw the ideas against the wall and yes, they will leave a little stain, a little mark, and I will paint over it later. And so I feel like when I'm talking to a lot of entrepreneurs who are starting something or they're a little bit nervous and, you know, their fears are totally warranted, they like sometimes they never get past that idea stage because of fear or resources or perfection. Like you want it to be perfect when you launch your website. But I'm just someone who's like, throw it out there. If everyone hates it, you reel it on back. Like one of the beauties about the world that we live in now with technology is like, a website's a really good example. Like you spend all this time on your website and then you're so nervous and then like you put it out and it's like doesn't gather any support. Okay, you take it down and like guess what? Nobody knows, nobody cared. And so I feel like that, like removing that fear of like at the end of the day, if you're just do it, like just do anything, like quick iterations, quick edits, like you wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat and you're like, I spelled bookkeeping wrong on my website, I will edit it tomorrow. Like I think the more times that you do that, the more like it's just a muscle where you start to care less about the consequences of making a little mistake that ultimately doesn't matter.
Which leads me perfectly into my next question about, I loved our conversation just because you went into some of the lessons, because I think that, on journeys like this, and you can even share the fact that, I wrote down perfection now because, it's not perfect. It's actually impossible to be perfect as humans, so why do we always, must we chase it? But can you share some of like those critical lessons that as you were kind of growing and scaling, or some of the painful moments that actually went, that was a breakthrough? Can you share any of those?
Yeah, I feel like I'm so honored to even be here, and that you would all leave your house to come here and hear me speak. Because I still feel like obviously there's just so much more that I'm going to learn, and I feel like I'm just like at the beginning of like a mountain of knowledge that is life, right? But I did have like a very challenging last few years of business, as many business owners did. I didn't have an issue during COVID, because COVID really tipped this like, oh, things can be done remotely. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not coming to your office to pick up your receipts, buddy. Like, and it really like shifted the understanding of like, oh, work can be done remotely. And that like my business was booming during COVID. Also, if you're looking for a side hustle, accounting industry is recession proof. Even like if you're like, oh, bankruptcy, the business is bust, you still got to file your taxes. So there's still bookkeeping involved. So I find that like some of the major lessons that I learned through like failing at a lot of businesses and whatnot. One is like positivity. I'm not like a gratitude journal girl. I wish that I was. You'd think that I was as like a writer, that I'd be like, I'm up at 5 and I write in my gratitude journal that I am grateful for this morning light. And I'm like not that type of person. The type of person that I actually am is like, I went out and I bought a really big piñata and a bunch of like sticky notes. And every day I would write down just one positive thing that happened in my business that day. Just one. And I put it in there. And then at the end of the year, I beat the crap out of that piñata and got to celebrate, like relive my year through all these sticky notes. Then I would light it all on fire and, start the process again. So there's a little bit of artist in me yet. But one of like, I had so many staffing issues. Like I decided to scale my business. I went, oh, okay, things are going really great. Got lots of money in the bank, got lots of clients. Let's scale. I'm going to go from 1 to 2 to 7. And that's what I did. And it did not go well at all. I just learned so much during that process. Would I do it again? Yes. But I've learned so many things about myself. As a leader, I'm not very good at the firing aspect. And I think that as like business owners, entrepreneurs, like we wear a million different hats, obviously. Not all hats look good on us. And I think it's okay to just be like, that's not a hat that I'm going to wear anymore. I know that maybe I should, because, I should be able to do all these things. But my perspective on it has really shifted to, you know what, I can try and do the thing so that I can value that role. But being able to like delegate out, like I don't do the hiring and firing anymore because I have too much empathy for this person who's like, I'm like, you remind me of my Aunt Nancy, who I love. And I have a hard time, being able to say your work sucks. And when you're like, when they're showing you pictures of their dog, so I really learned at that time that like the emotional side of me does not serve the business. And at the end of the day, as the founder of your own business, you're supposed to be looking out for your business. Like without, like, you're the advocate, you're the one. There's going to be no one else. Everyone else cares about their own family and their own issues, and that's perfectly reasonable. You're the advocate for your business, so you have to do what's right for it. And if you are the obstacle to doing what's right for your business, then you have to replace yourself. So that's what I did. I replaced myself in my own business because I went, I'm the problem, it's me.
And even sharing even the journey and the lessons that you've learned, you did talk about the fact that you did have a mentor. You have had people that
Oh yeah.
you have really counted on, and specifically in the early stages of entrepreneurship. And how do you now approach mentoring others, or like what are you really hoping to inspire in the next generation?
Yeah, I don't think that I mentor people yet. I'm still on the recipient end.
You're in a room today, or people listening.
This actually just sounds like a therapy session where I get to vent. But I'm still very much a recipient of mentorship. I have a senior business advisor who I met at a music competition when I was 16. And at that time, I was obviously very heavily invested in music, as was he. He was a computer programmer. We found out very quickly that we were related, 4 cousins back. I came from a very small town. I had to leave town to find a boyfriend, basically. But, I have been on his end of mentorship for over a decade, and having someone in your life who can be honest with you that isn't a blood relative in terms of parents or your significant other or your best friend is so amazing, because you need that. You need that sounding board of someone being like, hey, you're being altruistic again. I'll be like, oh, I have a really good idea. I want to offer this, software package for new business owners, and I'm going to give them 30% off. And he's like, what is wrong with you? Why are you discounting yourself right now? Why? And I've had so many conversations with him. Sometimes we're yelling on the phone, and I'm like, I'm not talking to you right now. We hang up, and that's life. But one of the things that I will say about WESK that I have found amazing is your the ability for you to speak to the business advisors in a moment is the closest thing that I've found to mentorship that is very hard to cultivate. Obviously everyone would benefit from a mentor. Cool. How do you find one, right? How do you actually get someone who cares about you and your business enough to give you sage advice? It's very hard to do. So the access to the WESK team, and Amanda was my business advisor when I was going. Is it? Okay. Happy birthday. Okay. Okay, good. She was my business advisor when I was going through all these staffing headaches. And I remember being on these calls with her, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I've got my retention rate's horrible, and I'm sending out surveys to the staff about how to make things better. And then the staff give me feedback. Then I implement the feedback, and then they're still unhappy. So what am I doing wrong? And just having someone who, I think it's that she has no horse in this race. Whether or not I fail or succeed, Amanda's not losing sleep over this, right? It's not a family member who or someone who's really affected by your mood day to day. She was really able to be honest with me. And also when there were times when I would just join the Zoom call and I was like, I'm just gonna cry for a moment. And she's like, you should get a therapist for that. And I'm like, you're right, Amanda. You're right. I gotta go. So I think that the taking advantage of the resources that WESK has made available, truly the business advising is incredible. I actually can't believe that you offer it for what we pay in membership fees. It doesn't seem right, but we can talk about numbers another time.
We'll talk about numbers.
Yeah, okay.
That's all right.
Okay, yeah.
And you do so one of the things that whenever we do surveys, when we just have our ear to the ground, things that entrepreneurs have process products, it's finances. So it means from any marketing support they might need or HR support that they might need. The number one thing is the ability to manage finances and to do it well. So one, I would love, while I have you on the mic, to even just share in the room on, what are your thoughts on financial literacy and what are resources that you could even just share with attendees or anyone that might watch this, that, can help support their growth in this area.
Yeah. I really strongly believe that we overcomplicate a lot of aspects of our businesses and our bookkeeping. And I think that's because we expect our bookkeeping to tell us a lot of things. That, like, back in the day, I think that, it wasn't just your bookkeeping software was just your bookkeeping ledger. Like, your customer list was maybe somewhere else, like your budget plans were maybe somewhere else. Like, I think that the accounting softwares that are on the market today, they, you have to think about it from their perspective. They want you to get really involved in their software because they would like you to stay on their software. So I find that a lot of the items that are on the market are really comprehensive, like, oh, let's track your inventory on this. Let's track all of your customer information. Let's start building out modeling and forecasting. Like, it's so incredibly involved that you could spend all day on your accounting software when you're like, I'm just trying to sell hair clips. But here I am, just, in the nitty gritty of these details. So I really strongly believe that, but I also really benefit from that as a QuickBooks Pro advisor because the software is so complicated, because it's so comprehensive, and I love it so much. Intuit, QuickBooks Online. If they're watching this, they're always watching. Yeah, they're always watching. It's gonna be recorded. I know. I just went to an event yesterday that was great, but business owners hire Breeze Business Management because they can't understand how to run the QuickBooks. Well, I'm like, yeah, no wonder you can't, because you can't even see the debits and credits behind a transaction. That is the fundamentals of bookkeeping. And I'm like, do you know the accounting software, or the accounting equation? And they're like, no. And I'm like, that makes sense. You wouldn't know that. So one of the areas that I've been trying to focus on for our my own accounting software is the simplification. So one thing that I would say about if you're starting a business or you're wanting to simplify your accounting, we got a 5-minute from Michael here. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah.
Oh, I have my clock here.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna be just fine.
Okay. Cool. At the end of the day, we have to file our taxes. Well, you should. If you don't, they're gonna come for you eventually. But everyone has to file their taxes. If you're a sole proprietor, wonderful. Literally go look at the statement of professional and business activities. That actually tells you what you render down your accounting to. You could be like, I'm gonna have a really complex chart of accounts. I'm gonna track every bobby pin that I purchase for my hair clip business. I'm gonna you can really bulk out your chart of accounts for reporting reasons, which is totally legit. But when you go to report it to the government, they don't care about that. They're like, what are your supplies? One line, what are your professional fees? What are your bank charges? They tell you exactly what you have to report to them. So some of my advice for simplifying your accounting or even knowing where to start is to go look at what is demanded of you. It's not even what is expected. It is no, you have to report these things. Otherwise, you're going to put all of your expenses in other, and then hello, you will be audited. So I think that there's a lot of fear and anxiety around correct accounting, but the CRA, who I have a very healthy fear of, by the way, because in the management office, we had a desk for them because we were under audit just 100% of the time with clients. So I have a very, I'm above board on everything. I have a high respect for them. They tell you what you have to do. And I think that we complicate it and the products complicate it because the products that are on the market, they want you to stay with them The more information that you provide to them, the harder it is for you to leave it. There's the sunk cost fallacy where you're like, I've spent 5 hours, perfecting, making sure every customer's name is in capitals. Like, you don't want to do that again, but like, just avoid those pitfalls and just go back to like what the CRA actually expects from you.
Do not at all.
Yeah.
So, as my final question, before I go to Q&A, you have done what I think a lot of entrepreneurs want to do, is get the business to that point where you have someone running it. Like, so clearly you reached that point where you're going, okay, this is operational and it's kind of where I need to be.
Yeah.
But your entrepreneurial journey is not over. So what is next then for you? Like, what does this all look like now?
Yeah, for sure. So I will say I used to think along the lines of like, your business is your baby. You hear that a lot, right? Where you're like really attached to your business. Your business is your teenager that you want out of the house, or the teenager that you would like to pay rent. Like, you want that business to generate you income. Like, that is the point. For, unless you're running a not-for-profit or whatever, right? Like, for the most part, if you're running a business to produce profit, it's like you need to get that baby like grown up and kicked out of the house or producing rent. So that was a big shift that I had. But now what I'm doing is my mentor and the co-developer of the accounting software that I've launched, he's not old, but he is eyeing retirement. And like, there is that thought in my mind of like, well, what happens if you get hit by a truck tomorrow, knock on wood, and what am I supposed to do with my accounting software? Where is it? How do I change it? How do I access it? What about if there's a software glitch? How do I fix it? So thankfully, he has taken me under his wing, and I am learning computer programming. And I will be taking over the maintenance and software side of things so that I am not dependent on someone else. Like, I need to make sure that I can, like, could you imagine like trying to launch like an accounting software and then all of a sudden like you can't access the developer and you don't know how to program? Like, that for me would be like really devastating. So now I'm learning computer programming. I'm doing that like fairly full time. And still, consulting with QuickBooks Online on occasion, but Linda, really manages everything at Breeze Business Management. So I'm back to my learning, like the learning stage of entrepreneurship.
And I think learning is something that will never be done well as humans. So not possible to be perfect. That's one of the things I'm taking away. I want to open it up to a Q&A. Like, as you've heard her story and Jem sharing, this journey of hers, are there questions that you might have? Jem, I'm actually going to you. Can you say that?
Not for free.
What advice would you give Leslie be really well?
Yeah.
Staying working and short of ladies. How do you let that when you don't really let go? It needs to pivot, but you're also you ever have that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. If my answer is a little morbid. Okay. I like in my mind have like an idea graveyard, and like I burn a lot of things. I might have a problem with fire, but like I do a lot of like, okay, I'm gonna burn this, and like out of the ashes of this idea, I will bring the 5 things that worked for this business and build up the infrastructure for what's next. Like, I'm just like a big iterator in terms of like, if something's not working, like then you're hitting your head against a wall, and like eventually you should move on. But I don't think that it's like there's nuggets, there's like bones of your original idea that were working. That's probably what you're clinging to, is like the memory of when this was working. But like I'm someone who's just like, I don't know, like maybe you should burn it all down and start over. Yeah.
Questions? Okay, yes. A lot easier. Yeah.
It's related to that question. One, I gotta say, I love the community idea. I do gratitude. I'm gonna provide the community insurance.
Nice.
Related to the last question, is there anything you specifically do to take care of your mindset and stay in that better frame of mind to help after you burn it all down and build it up? Is there anything you specifically do? Because I find that's been one of my biggest things is from my corporate career to entrepreneurship is what am I doing to take care of my mindset? Just curious if there's anything specific you do.
I try not to make like my business my full identity. Because like that I think can lead to a lot of, or has led to a lot of distress or like discomfort in the past when like something is not working or it's not working anymore, it's failing. I feel like you can like really slip into, depression or something when you're like so attached to this thing that you've built. So I spend a lot of time making sure that my life is not just my business. And so whether or not like I'm trying to, I do pottery, I do singing, I do like sewing lessons, I do aquafit, I do yoga, I really try to, because life is more than just business, the same way that life is more than just working 9 to 5, the same way that so I don't know if that answers your question, but like I think trying to remove the like almost like emotional attachment between you and your business, and trying to like, so maybe your business isn't a teenager, maybe it's like a cousin who's like been mooching off of you, you don't really like them anymore, but like you want them to pay rent. So it's like you need your business to work for you, but like also you need to like not be so tied to it mentally that like when you have a bad day, you can still show up for your family, you can still show up for your friends. I don't know if that really answers it.
Maybe time for one last question. Anybody, even if you want to ask like personal, maybe, yes.
Okay, I think we know how it works. The benefit. So when you were looking at that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that when you know it's the right answer for that kind of thing, but was there a time where you were in this first class and maybe this isn't the right fit? I don't know, just any advice on how to find the right mentor? I guess the first couple times that find it isn't the right one, but what do you?
Yeah, no, we clashed actually on a lot of things because I didn't know he was my mentor, right? Like when we first met, he was a guitarist, I was a guitarist and a singer, and like our, friendship developed into him being like, oh, do you want to run my recording studio? Young 16-year-old girl, which is creepy if we weren't related. We are related. Okay. But I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll learn how to run a recording studio. And like our time that we spent together bonded over music and our love of Joni Mitchell, like we also clashed and argued like relatives would. Like there were spans of time, months and months and months, where we were not connected. There were times when he had significant others who did not like me, right? Because there's perception as well, where it's like, well, who's this young 20-year-old who's running your music studio? Like, what does she want from you? And it's like, nothing, like we're just working together, right? Like there have been a lot of obstacles that would have, had I known, like, I didn't know he was my mentor until enough time had passed that I was like, oh, you want me to succeed. Like, you don't care like how, like what I'm doing, like you just want me to succeed. And so I think that like when you're connecting with someone over mentorship, someone who's giving you advice, like I think that you should be able to tell like what are they getting out of the relationship with you. And at some point, like I think that like, oh, like I don't know what they're getting out of this, but like they just want me to succeed, and they don't really like, I don't know what he gains. Like I do, right? Like obviously I do, because there's a profound feeling of helping someone, and like he's very altruistic, and like he gets to, I don't know, relive his, I'm 30s now, so 30s plural. So like I think it's that is like trying to, yeah, it is tough, because I didn't go out looking for a mentor. And if you asked me how to get one, I wouldn't know how. But I think that like you get that feeling of like, is this person looking out for my best interest, or are they like trying to get something from me? And you use your intuition.
So before closing remarks, my last question is, where did the cuddle app go?
The what?
The cuddle app, you know, this
Oh.
app for cuddling?
No, like the thing is, I took like,
So it's that, it's like, it doesn't exist.
well,
That was a genius idea.
well, I know.
Just-
I know it was genius, not creepy, couldn't have gone wrong at all. But like,
No risk.
yeah, no, it's like, what's funny about like burning your business down is like, I burnt my music down. Like, it's like, if you went online and you're like, I want to watch your Much Back video, it's like, good luck, sucker. I took that down 7 years ago. But what's nice is that like you can revive those parts of your business. Like I actually met a music producer in Regina, like in Regina, and we put out a single, I think last April, and it's been the most successful music that I've put out in my whole career. And that was just through a Regina producer who was like, yeah, let's do something. And I'm like, cool, I have about 300 songs that have never done anything. Which one do you want to work on? Like, so I think it's like you revive the parts that also bring you joy, right? Like I just want to sing now for fun and for money, but like for fun.
Well, thank you for all your sharing, for sitting with us, for being so open, and, you know, just even the years of your journey up to this point. So you delivered a lot of like just informative nuggets. I was trying to find a different word for that. I couldn't.
I would also say, if you want to talk lawsuits, firing people, bad hiring decisions, anything off camera, come find me.
But, you know, I just appreciate it. I think you can stand up comedy if you really also wanted to.
Thank you.
Comedy, well, you know, but thank you for tonight and for everything you just shared with us this time. We do have a gift for you. So this is a little gift pack from
Juicy
Yes.
gifts. Oh,